The Sentinel is known to be reliable, fearless, disciplined, consistent, courageous, motivated, and skillful.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
All these qualities start from the mind. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your most powerful weapon.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Is this the dagger?
Learn how to achieve greatness and tap into the Sentinel mindset.
This episode is brought to you by The Arena. The Arena focuses on helping law enforcement and security professionals achieve their ultimate work experience, curriculum, and fitness goals. Visit thearenatoronto.com.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this amazing episode of the Sentinel Mindset. We've got a very special guest today, and this is someone that I guess I would say over the course of the last couple of months have been able to really see what they're doing and very, very impressed with the impactful work that they're doing. I'm talking about here today Gissell Arevalo. Now, who exactly is Gissell Arevalo? Well, she is a certified personal trainer, and I'm going to also reference that as an athletic coach because the work that she's doing is helping to truly transform people's lives. She is the founder and CEO of her company, Body by Design. And Body by Design, and I want to make sure I do this justice, is specifically designed to help people get through the physical challenges in their law enforcement goals. Okay,
Exactly.
It's not just that, but that's a big focus on there. And in addition to that, I would probably have to say that Gissell has, I would say, probably bigger biceps than I do. So Gissell, amazing for that. Amazing. You're very much into it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be able to speak to something that I'm very passionate about and kind of give a little knowledge to the people that are listening in and why this is so important for law enforcement.
Okay, good. So the first thing you said is passion.
Yes.
And what I love about this is that was the very, very first thing that you didn't even have to say that I just noticed about how much through your social media and through when I first saw you do a session, how much you are pouring into these, I say kids, because obviously we're obviously older and I always reference people as younger, but you have this like mothering approach to them where you're pouring into them and the way they communicate with you would be like a very mom style like relationship. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's funny that you actually notice that because a lot of the times, when we go into these sessions, they walk in just about to start their session is like, okay, I'm home, mommy. And this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to open up a safe space for people to feel comfortable, to discover themselves, to unleash their potential, to grow. And, when we introduce somebody into the family, it's about being able to connect with one another, support one another. And that's the foundation where things start. Because when you are able to get that support from the people who are even like-minded people, you're able to succeed and advance a lot quicker in their fitness or any other part of your daily routine.
Okay. No, listen,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. I'm glad you said that. Where we first kind of got exposure to you is our facility, the Arena.
Yes.
Our whole drive and our goal and our mandate is to help our people basically get one of the biggest challenges that they need to pass through which is the police test, the police prep test. And when I found out that you actually helped people pass the prep test, and not only helped them, but they're actually succeeding, and their success stories layered over and over and over again.
Yes.
Again, that's what really kind of I guess gravitated to what you're doing. So I've been part of that, and I also know Gissell, like you're someone that off the get-go, which I love. We always talk about leadership and leading by example. After many of the students did it, you went and did it as well.
Yes.
Okay, and almost to showcase that, hey, listen, I'm not just someone that just tells you how to do it. I can also do it as well using those principles, right?
Absolutely.
So let's go back to the origin story.
Okay.
And the origin story is, why did you decide to kind of get into this side of the industry? But also, why did you choose to focus on the group that is trying to get into law enforcement or policing or anything of that sort?
That's a great question, and one that's really I hold very close to my heart. And a lot of the reasons that and where this all started is that I wanted to help the community. I wanted to really connect, and I've done that in the health industry. And now I wanted to take that to another level and help in the physical aspect. There's so many levels because when you talk about physical, you can talk about your mindset. You can also be talking about what's happening emotionally. There's a lot of things that's happening. So when I am putting a program together, I want to be able to walk the talk. And what I think is important is the leading by that example and executing those workouts with them. Because when they see me do it, they know and they see that they're able to do it. A lot of the times people come in seeking help. That's why we're coaches. That's why we do what we do, to help them. But when they know that they're getting that guidance from somebody that, okay, they've done their steps in due diligence, I'm able to do the same steps in that same direction.
Okay.
And that's where things start.
Okay. Did you identify like a need, like back when you started? Like, how long have you been doing this for?
So now we're about 4 years in
Okay.
Body by Design,
Yes.
3 years focused with law enforcement.
Okay, so what was it for you that was that trigger point? So obviously you wanted to help, you wanted to pour in. Did you recognize that many people were struggling on the physical side of things? Were you getting that kind of feedback to kind of say, let me build something?
Absolutely. I think, with physical fitness and athleticism, it's a building block. It's like building that foundation, then you have to grow from there. A lot of the times you get a lot of athletes that come in, younger generation, that maybe haven't been exposed to lifting weights or haven't been exposed to, practicing a sport per se. So now we're talking about somebody that we have to help mold, guide, and have them discover themselves in their true potential. Because a lot of the times they finish the workouts, which are so enduring,
Right.
and they're like, I can't believe I just did that.
Right.
Right. And that's where things start to build. They'll look at the plan and say, I don't know if I can do that. But with the guidance and the fact that we are doing it together, because I work out with my group every day, we're on the mat and we train nightly. I want them to understand that with step by step, you are able to build that foundation to then get to where you want to be.
Okay.
And that's very important. And that's where, again, it ties into mindset.
Okay, good. In your experience, why are people failing the prep test? Like, I mean, obviously the simple answer is, well, their physical's not there.
Right.
But to go a little bit more in depth, your observations, right? Why are
Yes.
people failing it? And first of all, and after that question, and is it possible to pass?
Absolutely. I think anything's possible.
Okay.
When you dedicate yourself to something, when you practice something on a daily, when you set your plan up, whether you're journaling or however you want to monitor your progression, if you're going to dedicate yourself to that, you're going to see yourself advance. Now, advancements are going to be different in everybody because everybody's capabilities are going to be different. We're all starting from a different place. However, with that consistency, dedication, and perseverance,
Yeah.
the person's capable of doing it.
Okay, good.
And a lot of the times, the reason why I think some may fall short is driving without hesitation,
Okay.
right? And this is not about bringing in ego, because as soon as ego comes into the picture, everything else can fall apart. A lot of the times is we're talking about just trusting within yourself in what we're doing, why you're doing it, and having that intention.
Okay.
Right? Because those are enduring. Like, you get to the dummy drag and your legs are shaking. How are we mentally going to bring in that power? And I appreciate the coaching from your side of things, that we want to really think about. That's our community. That's who we're helping. That's going to take you to that extra mile.
Okay.
That finish line.
So it sounds like almost to me that it could almost be a layer of mindset failure where people could also be failing on the
Absolutely.
prep test.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the dummy drag. One of the things that we like to do, and again, mindset tricks, right?
Yes.
When you get to that point, your legs are all kind of wobbly right now, and
Yes,
now you got to
lactic
start
acid.
pulling the dummy at the very, very end. So what we like to do is tell our people is like, pretend that's your mom, that's your dad that you got to drag right now
Exactly.
out of the house, and they weigh 175 pounds,
That's it.
and suddenly when they start thinking like that, it's like they're pulling and summoning some power that never existed, and they're able to do
Absolutely.
it. So it's like the same way when someone's working out. I tell my son, listen, you just hit 10. Are you done? Or can you get to 12? And you got to push past it. And sometimes it's very easy to give up and just say, I can't do it. But the reality is you can. You
Exactly.
just told yourself you can't.
That's the purpose of having and working with a coach. Even myself, I have a coach, and that person pushes me. And that's the purpose of supporting one another. So sometimes I sit back and I see an athlete coach another athlete.
Yes.
And that to me is amazing, because that's exactly how we're going to get past that 10.
Okay.
Right. And, these are enduring workouts. Like we train on average about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay.
And we have different sections of the workout. So we're starting up with a run. We're making sure that we're working that run. And then we're going into conditioning and then your muscular endurance. So they can be overwhelming. But a lot of the times, and what we see in law enforcement and what is necessary is for us to be able to think under pressure and to be able to handle that threshold and still be able to think clear.
Okay.
And that's why in physical fitness, it's so important to have different aspects where weight training in one direction is super important together with having to do 30 seconds of 2 sets, 2 rounds back to back.
Right.
Right. Because then you're able to challenge your cognitive ability to make sound decisions, which is really what you can translate and take it out into the real world, into law enforcement.
No, for sure. And the correlation, and I mean, even like, for example, a lot of the equipment and the circuit that is used in the prep test is, for example, the arm restraint, supposed to stimulate, like, taking someone's hands and trying to handcuff them, or the
Correct.
push-pull, you're going through a struggle.
Correct.
A lot of the exercises or the equipment that you have in your gym facility is like you're trying to do real life movements to help you. Like, hey, if I'm going to do a push pull, there's this thing. What is that machine that you push on that green carpet, like from one to the other?
The sled.
The sled. That's it. Sorry. And you see a lot of
People lose
football.
their emotion on that one.
Yeah, exactly. But everything that I love about what I
Yes.
see is that you're saying you do this exercise,
Yes.
it's going to translate and give you this kind of strength and this kind of movement. So if I'm someone coming to you and I have really bad cardio and I'm not that strong, and all across the board, grip strength, push, pull, the whole 9 yards. If I was to come to you and I'm dedicated, okay, how long would you say someone should, say, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time to get myself ready? Because we can both agree here it's not going to happen over a week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we can definitely agree on that. Now, there's different components, so it depends on what we're going to target and what we develop first. So if I can go back to the point of it's building foundation, and it's like building a house. If we have good foundation, the house is going to hold up real well. And this goes along with our physical fitness, our training, our muscular endurance, our cardiovascular. So I like to break things down and be able to compartmentalize different developments in that athlete. Because we're all starting in a different place, I like to evaluate and assess them just to see where they're at when they first start.
Okay.
So if the person does have some experience with weight training, then they're going to be a little bit more being able to take it to the next level, depending on what we're doing.
Okay.
For somebody who's just starting off, we're foundational. And one of the good things in how I design these workouts is that anybody in every level can actually do them. We're just going to take it at that person's specific pace.
Okay.
So if they're not able, like, let's just say maybe that instant moment, they're not able to do the jumping. So we're working on doing stationary, but they're still going to do the same exercise.
Okay.
So, and a lot of what I try to do is simulate real life situations for them, right? Because we're trying to build a foundation to take this out into our workforce and having to deal with, we're there to help crisis. We're there to help, people who are at their worst. Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to physically handle the situation, but also be able to think about and rationalize and remember things. And I think that a lot of the physical fitness and intensity can help train that. So I like to do a lot of simulators.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting at, right?
Okay.
Simulation, the more simulations you do, the more experience you can gather.
Okay. If someone says 3 months, right? Can I hit my goal then?
I've had some hit 3 months.
Okay.
I've had year,
Okay.
6 months. It depends, and also consistency, making sure that the athletes are consistent. But for the most part, we're doing 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
That's when I'm starting to see the athlete really gain that, definite on the shuttle and a definite on the prep.
Okay, when
Yes.
people come in and they do the prep test sessions, training with you, okay, and they're getting their bodies ready, do you also go over with them about like here's some foods we recommend you should start sticking to?
Absolutely. So I always look at our bodies as like an expensive vehicle.
Yes.
Because we want to put premium gas. We want to make, if that you want, expect the car to move efficient and to take care of that engine, you want to make sure that you're taking care of the car. So our bodies are just the same. We want to fuel for performance. So we do talk about nutrition. We talk about meal prepping. We do talk about hours of the day, but I also break down to see if there's any sort of deficiencies. So, gut health could be one. Maybe there's a medical condition that we're having to deal with that will maybe impede on their advancements. So could be respiratory, it could be thyroid. So I like to try to see what's happening with each individual athlete so I can help them to feel better, because the number one most important thing to me is that they're feeling at their best.
Okay.
And they're taking care of their bodies.
Right.
Right. That's why I wanted to call name my company like Wellness Through Mind, Body, and Soul, because it has a lot to do with wellness.
Right.
Which is important for us to take care of, because when they go into the workforce, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. There's night shifts. And the number one thing is that you don't want to hit adrenal drainage, right?
What's it called?
So adrenal drainage.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So adrenal drainage is when your body's under stress and your hormones are imbalanced. And a lot of the time you'll experience this with lack of sleep, and your circadian rhythms are just completely off.
Right.
So if we're not sleeping properly and fueling properly, we can't grow and recover properly.
And you can't even make your brain is
Your
almost
sound.
delayed. You can't make sound decisions,
Exactly.
especially when you're required to make lightning fast decisions.
Exactly. We're going from 0 to 100. We need to really be mindful of taking care of our health, because that if we take care of ourselves, we can take care of other people.
Okay.
And that's our primary focus, is taking care of or tending to the community.
Yes.
And, enforcing the law.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for people listening, just doing the physical is not enough.
It's not enough.
Eating is a huge piece. Now there is apparently like a pie chart that states like if you look at your overall end physique, right? A big part of that will be how much you eat, or how you eat, and the other part, a smaller part, will be how much you're doing the physical exercises, the
Exactly.
cardiovascular. So they do come into place, and I very strongly agree with you. What would you say would be one of your little arsenal of tips that you can say for someone? This is something that you should be doing if you're going to be doing high intensity training to help you in your career growth or transformation. This is one food tip I should give you that you want to it's almost like a fundamental food tip. What would you say?
It's easier said than done, but with practice, we're able to do it, is try not to skip meals.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me why, because I honestly I know the reasons why.
Yes.
But I think for many people listening, why?
Yes. So it's good to start the day the way we start our day, and if you start on a positive note, we're going to do our best to carry that through and finish on a positive note.
Right.
So when you're starting your day with a breakfast, and especially when it has your macronutrients in it, that's going to start your day for you to have that fuel to think, to fuel to function. If you're skipping a meal, let's just say, you go through the day and you feel pretty good, but then you start to hit around the 4:30 mark, and then you're just whoop.
Yes.
And you're pretty much, for some people, finishing off a shift, or maybe that could be going close to the gym time. You're not going to have that fuel and drive to push, to build. And I had this conversation actually with an athlete last night where, yes, at times we're going to have to perform, and we might not can't be perfect all the time.
Right.
But when we strive to try to stay on top of our meal hours of eating, then you're constantly giving yourself that opportunity to perform properly.
Okay.
And that's going to go cognitively, that's going to go physically, that's going to go emotionally, stability, our mental support. Mental health is so important in making sure that we're keeping that sound.
Right.
So skipping meals can happen, sure, but trying to strive to stay on top of eating frequently throughout the day to stay fueled.
Okay, good. I love this. And by the way, for anyone listening today, even though we're talking about how to get prepared and a lot of stuff that you do for the policing world, the law enforcement world, the stuff that I hear every day, Gissell, is like, look, I'm 46 years old. I just turned 46.
Nice.
Okay.
Congrats.
And thank you. And, health has never been stronger in my mind ever before. And I'll tell you why. People say, well, are you losing weight because you want to go on a diet? It's very simple. And I'm going to say something that maybe is not the best way to describe it, but I'll say something very simple. I don't want cancer. Now, I'll say something like that, and obviously anyone can get it anytime. And I'm just trying to say that a lot of things that are contributed to diseases or to things like cancers is like food or the shape of your body. Like I was just at a seminar, and they talked about some of the leading causes of why people get cancer, right?
Yes.
And it's food, right?
Yes.
It could have to do with sleep, stress,
Yes.
all these things, right? So how do you eliminate it? Well, you eliminate substances like drugs. You eliminate, you keep your body physically fit. You put the right foods in your body.
Exactly.
So to me, like, this is where truly, I'm not doing this because I want to do it. I want to do this to be for my lifestyle, but longevity.
Yeah.
I want to be around. I want to see my great grandkids.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
yes.
So people listening today, the stuff you're hearing today is not just about getting ready for something. It's about maintaining this. We've seen, Gissell, you just got to turn on the news or turn on a TV show. A lot of times people coming into the service are coming in fit, and then slowly over time, the belly starts kicking in, and suddenly they start losing it, and forget about running after somebody. It's not happening.
Right.
I think it should be a mandate where they do get, every year they got to go again to get recertified. But it should be, if you hit this threshold of physicality and you can't make it, well, you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
It should go there.
Safety.
It's
safety.
Our
physical fitness is going to be our safety. Our health and wellness is going to be our support, right?
Yes.
So a lot of the times, if we're lacking one or the other, there's going to be it's going to be off balance.
Yes.
Right. So
and that's very much needed on the job. If you have
Absolutely.
to act and you can't because your lower back's kicking in.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's exactly it. And I have a lot of our athletes that are in security, and they're younger, and they're having to do night shifts and then come train and switch to day shifts. That's tough on the body. So not only do I talk about nutrition, but also supplementation, because that actually bridges the gap.
Okay, let's talk about, I was actually literally going to ask you that. Tell me, when you say supplements, are you mean like getting some extra vitamins? Or are you talking about more like supplements that you get from food?
Okay, so with my supplementation, what I've been doing and what's worked for me and I've seen help other people is I actually have been taking USANA Health Science supplementation.
Okay.
And basically what they focus on is the cellular nutrition.
Okay.
So how cells communicate and how it's going to help to produce ATP production, which is, without getting into super detail, basically it's the energy cell within our bodies. So as we age, just naturally, that starts to deplete. So what happens when we're starting to take these vitamins that have, a patent design actually, in fueling our cells, now we're going to get that extra oomph, that extra energy, that you're revitalized.
Yes.
It revitalizes the cells. The cells are able to communicate, and then you're able to continue more fulfilled throughout your day.
Okay.
So the fatigue, the foggy brain goes away. And I've also helped with other ailments that some people have.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's really good.
I've seen a huge, tremendous help with people that have gut health problems, celiac disease, generalized inflammatory response. It's incredible, honestly, the changes that I've seen in people's health.
And you know what the funny thing is, and I mean, it's not funny, but the food that we eat on a day-to-day basis, you could be having, for example, I don't know, vegetables or chicken breast, but sometimes the way they're brought to you and the pesticides and all these things. And there's actually a movie right now on Netflix called Poisoned, I think, right now, that talks a lot about that. I was in Italy about 3 weeks ago, and I ate a lot of pasta and a lot of pizza. It's the number one food choice of Italians.
They have the best.
However, a lot of the food was like, it's fresh, organic, like the way it came through your system, the way you feel afterwards. I'm thinking there's something off here. When I eat a pizza here and I eat a pizza there was two different feelings, right?
Yes.
And that's because of what's in the food.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about food selection? Because just because you get that chicken breast doesn't necessarily mean that chicken breast is 100% healthy for you.
Which is why these supplements are important. Like I was saying, it bridges that gap. So a lot of the times these fruits and vegetables are sprayed, and the soils are depleted. We really don't have the proper nutrition or process, because everything is sprayed and maintained for it to ship, sit on the shelf, and be there long enough time for somebody to pick it up and eat it, consume it. So now what's happening is that you're consuming food, but your body's not absorbing the nutrition that it needs, right? And maybe it's actually inflicting on the digestive tract and how that person is breaking things down.
Okay.
Right? So they develop dysbiosis. So what happens is that the person can't break down the food. So what's happened is that if the food can't be broken down, it can't actually deliver to the areas that it's necessary. So to perform well. So that could be maybe 0 to 100, you're on pursuit, or it could be you're at the gym lifting weights. So
Okay.
that's where it's important to have both, have a good balance, not skip the meals, but also make sure you're taking good supplementation.
Okay, that's strong. So I'm going to throw a scenario here now,
Yeah.
okay? Because we're talking about the protectors world, and a lot of them are from the protectors world that are listening.
Yes.
I'm an executive protection. I'm taking out my client. I'm assigned for him for 3 days. I got to follow him everywhere I go. I'm not going to have time at all to be able to go and buy some food. I'm on the go. Now, most agents in this field will bring like protein bars, or they'll bring something to kind of give them some fuel. What could you recommend would be something that would be small, that you can keep close to you, that you can give? And it would say, look, if you're not going to be able to at least have this,
Yes.
try sticking to some of this, that you can get this to give you the energy. What would you suggest?
Protein shakes are also really good because you can put in pretty much everything into your shake, from spinach to kale to all of your vegetables, and then blend it in together.
That's what I do.
And that's actually great because you're going to have to drink. Like,
Okay.
we are going to stay hydrated. So it's an easy one to have. Protein bars are great. I'm skeptical on some of the protein bars only because of the high sugar content. But
Yes.
of course, I always say it's better to have something than nothing at all.
Right.
Eggs are also really easy to have handy. Nuts, if somebody's, not having they don't have any nut allergies.
Yes.
That's also an easy one to consume. Little breaking up carrots into small pieces and having them in a Ziploc bag.
Yes.
Something that's going to be readily available.
And also
throughout
kinda,
the day.
and also kind of give you a little bit of fulfillment as well,
Yes.
right? Because I guess if you don't know, you bring a bag of chips with you, or a chocolate bar, or something very simple.
It's a selection, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that'll actually probably ignite your hunger even harder.
Exactly.
In a shorter period of time, right?
Exactly. So that's when we're talking about your glycemic index,
Okay.
which is what we typically talk about in the nutrition consultation. So I have nutrition consultation. I set up a 1-hour consultation little webinar. And basically what we talk about is how we're absorbing, what should we absorb, and what type of foods, and how we break it down. So we have our 3 macros, and how is one going to be fueling our bodies, and how are the carbs going to be reacting within our bodies. So carbs carry sugar, and if they're high glycemic, that means that your sugar is going to spike. And it's exactly what you were just describing, where you're going to be hungry a lot sooner. Whereas if you're having something that's low glycemic, now it's actually going to be more stable through your bloodstream, and you're going to feel fuller longer.
Okay.
So you can add in your oatmeal into your shake, right? So that's a good carbohydrate that's going to help carry you for a little
Okay.
bit longer.
What about water?
Water is definitely...
But in general, like a lot of people like don't understand the power of water,
Yes.
right? And most people are probably not drinking what your body's required to drink on a daily
Absolutely.
basis. What can you talk about a little bit about water?
Yes, definitely. This is one of the things, like, one of the first questions I ask when athletes come in is, okay, have you had enough water? Have you had food to eat? When was your last meal? And the reason why, because that's going to affect performance. So with hydration, it's very important to keep in mind that, you could have too much water, and then there's times that you're dehydrated. If you're at a point where you're thirsty, that's already an indication that you're already dehydrated. You want to try to see consistent, just like food, through the day. So I would say, but 2 to 3 liters. Bigger person, more exercise, you might want to go a little bit more. But hydration is going to help keep us fuller longer through the day. So this is another tip that you can use. But you also want to make sure, because that's actually helping to filtrate our body systems. And if we're filtrating, that means we're getting rid of toxins, and we're able to fuel ourselves properly. So it helps also to correct digestive issues. Sometimes it's just water alone, a simple thing that you can do, that then the person feels that much better.
How much water do you drink a day?
I'm on average, I'm not perfect. I have my good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But around 3 liters.
Okay.
3.5. I have all my bottles that I just kind of fill up during the day.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
have
yeah.
my Target.
Right.
And my collagen that I also do at the end of my day, once a
Yes.
day. And again,
Okay. It's
for
funny. My
joints.
wife, she gets this collagen things on a regular basis. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great for your joints, great
Yep.
for your skin, your hair. It's just excellent source of protein as well within your connective tissues.
And that's, by the way, collagen is something that over time we start to like lose it,
elasticity,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Why it's so important to lift weights, because lifting weights is going to give that foundation to maintaining elasticity.
Oh, really? I didn't know
as
that.
well as maintaining our cognitive ability.
Okay.
So there's a lot of research now, and for a while that lifting weights even at the older age is going to help prevent dementia.
Oh, wow.
So how important it is for all ages to be lifting weights is like, oh my goodness, life changing.
Yes. And there's never there was this I guess stereotype or old
Yes.
motion that if you start off too young, you're going to stunt your growing. Is that just a myth?
It's a myth.
Yeah.
I honestly haven't done any deep research into
Yes.
it, but I do believe it is, because now you're seeing a lot of the younger kids condition. Now, I do think lifting heavier weights and pushing overhead is important to, start at an old, maybe 15, 16, 14,
Yes.
15, 16. Conditioning, though, alone, calisthenics training is also very challenging.
Okay.
So, but stunting growth, I don't think there's a direct correlation there.
Okay. No, for sure. So all you youngins,
Yeah.
start getting in
We
the
have
gym.
to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. I'm teaching my kids right now.
So important.
You got to make this a life thing. You can't look at
Yes.
this as a chore,
Yes.
I met a woman, her name is Veronica. I don't remember her last name, but she is the creator and founder of the Prep. Okay.
Oh, nice.
She came down to the arena and she looked at it. And the one of the things that she said, she was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much it's evolved when she first created it, but more or less the machinery and the way it looked. And one thing she told me is that I didn't even know this, but she goes, when I created the Prep, she says, I created it for 2 types of groups to pass. She says, women and to pass it. And also she stated people that are in their mid 40s.
Okay.
So those are the 2 benchmarks that she utilized it. So I thought that was important just for people hearing that the physical, prep test that you must do to get your, credential pass to get them to apply to a service is not this mountain to climb. So this is the next question to you. I'm a female, 5'2", and 120 pounds, 110 pounds. Okay. And I'm being told that I have to push and pull and do all this kind of thing. You can pass it.
Yes.
You can pass it. Do you have any stories of anyone that came in and they looked at it as a mountain, but when they actually started going through it, they're realizing, oh my God, I can actually do this?
Yes, I think every single one of the athletes.
Okay.
We always look at it as this is, and even the ones who are, strong to pass it in the time, but it's how are we executing, the quality in which we execute it also is very important. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, physical development and testing your capabilities comes with what have you done to train for that. So I look at it as our sport, right? If we're training for a specific sport, we're going to have specific ways or techniques that you're going to have to practice to improve on. So a lot of the times, and my smaller females athletes, they're like, oh, how am I going to get through this? And it's consistency of getting stronger. That ties into everything that we've been talking about, right? And also is practice. And as we practice, we gain that confidence. You get better each time. This is not about perfection. This is about being better.
Yes.
Right. And so that's where they slowly start to see themselves. But usually with the third time around, as we come see you, once a month, you start to see those passes.
Absolutely.
So it's, again, just piecing it together. And it's genius what's her name again? The one
Veronica. Yes.
has come up with, because it's testing your thinking as well. A lot of the times, if you know exactly where you're going, you're shaving time through that prep.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's a great way to test a person's capabilities on working under stress, being able to physically get through it, and to think thoroughly through what they're performing.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I do want to focus a little bit about Body by Design, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of what you do. So can you tell us more or less if someone is if they're looking for this, how you can help them, right? So for example, like we'll have people come to us, they'll do the actual prep test, they'll fail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't do the official test, meaning as in the test is official, but they're not like we obviously, it's just to see where you're at.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So
The
somebody,
benchmark.
yeah, the benchmark. So somebody right now, they realize, and we'll usually tell them is like, look, you need to see someone right now that can help you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we've talked to many, fitness trainers
Mm-hmm.
and nutritionalists and the whole 9 yards. And more so, I find a lot of the fitness trainers, if they don't know what the prep test is, if they don't know the types of machines that you have to win with, they won't be able to really kind of design or give you something for that.
Exactly.
What I love about what you guys do is that you said, hey, this is machine, you're going to need this training. You want to pass this machine, you're going to need this training.
Yes,
You
very
customize it
specific,
too.
yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of the audience to let them know how you customize it, what you really do, and more or less what could someone expect if they come to Body by Design?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to see their prep before, but if we don't have the capabilities of, I put them into the next month that we go, and I bring them into the studio, and then I test those muscle capabilities, and most importantly, I look at their endurance, right? Because endurance has a lot to do with what you can do when you lift and your heart rate is at like 180.
Okay.
Right? How is your body going to respond strength wise when your heart rate is at 180? So that's where we have to see that threshold, test the threshold and continue to push that threshold. So if they're struggling on, a lot of times they'll come to me and be like, okay, I'm the push pull. So we know that with the push pull coming over that underneath that barrier, you're coming in full force. You need your core. You need your entire core to pull and to push. So I do a lot of core based exercises. A lot of the times we're working with our vest. And I also have a specific type of running program that helps to improve. And sometimes just a running program alone, I've seen people go from like 0 to 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. So again, we tie that all in, and that's when we start to see those advancements, right? So if they're struggling, for example, with the dummy drag, that's another one that people tend to, because by the time you get there, you're done. So it's not just doing that push and pull of the sled or the pulling of the sled. It's what do you do before you get to that? What will I have that athlete do before I have them do that?
Okay.
Right? Because you got to get your point to that you want to stop. You got to get your body to that point. And then it'll say, okay, now pick up that sled and pull it. Right? Because that's going to be like, oh my goodness, that's exactly how I felt when I pulled that dummy.
Right.
Right? And we're going to go a little bit heavier than the dummy.
Yes.
Right? Because then you're building those muscles that are necessary.
I love that.
That's one component. Then we got to break it down and actually train the muscles itself.
Okay.
So that's what we do in the evening time. I do virtual classes, and I'm there training with the athletes. We go through them, and that's when you see me suffer, really.
Yeah.
So we're for the most part weighted vest.
Yes.
And we're going through a series of movements, all specific, breaking it down with the muscle groups.
And I'll say this because when you're saying about seeing the progress happen, I used to do boxing in my early years, and when running, the cardiovascular is a huge, massive piece of the sport.
Huge.
And I remember when I was first started running, I was just dying. But 3 or 4 days later, it started getting a little bit easier and easier. And then by like 2 or 3 weeks, your heart is so conditioned right now that you feel like,
That's it.
oh my goodness, I'm killing it. You know what I mean?
That's
so
it.
So to me, that's huge. Okay, let's say this right now. I've come through you. I've got my body ready right now. I've got my nutrition in check. I have my test coming up this coming Monday at 8 a.m.
Yes.
What advice would you give someone to say, look, you're coming in to do your test. Here's what you need to do before your test. Any recommendations on like what you should eat, sleep,
Yes.
thinking? What would you suggest? What were some tips?
So what I think is important is anytime before a competition, try not to change too much. Like already figure out what shoes work, already figure out what outfit works. already figure out what foods you are regularly accustomed to eating before your training, after your training, and also sleep schedule, right? Sleep schedule is important because that's going to help you feel well rested for your test date. Hydration, that's another point that I wanted to bring into the nutrition aspect, is that whatever you do the day before is going to affect your next day, right? Because if you're lacking in calories, that actually trickles into the next day, right?
Wow.
So we want to make sure is that whatever we're doing it as consistently, as best as possible. We're doing to do it consistently. And so if your test date is going to be, you're going into that service, you want to already have your pass. You've done all your work. You've done all your hard work. You have to go in there confident, knowing that you've put your time and effort, and you're now ready to show them what you've been working on.
Okay, so good sleep, well hydrated, making sure you have the proper calories the day before in your system.
Absolutely.
Should someone avoid something? Should someone avoid drinking like a caffeine drink or a coffee or
Absolutely.
Okay.
I always say, even like through our practice runs when we're doing our preps and also through training, is to avoid energy drinks, to avoid any stimulants. A lot of the times, especially in the world of bodybuilding, there's a lot of different stimulants, like, my workout drinks, and yes, they'll give you that extra boost, but you have to ask yourself, how are you going to perform in the time of 0 to 100? You're not going to be like, hold on a second, I'm going to go and have a coffee before I run out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you
yeah.
really got to put yourself to the test on how it is going to be in real life. So the more you practice, that's the experience that you're gaining to be ready for the workforce.
Okay.
So when you're practicing that, when it comes to test date, you're not going to feel that's sluggish, or you're going to feel pretty good because that's what you're accustomed, right? It's that adaptation that you just talked about with your boxing and your conditioning.
Yes.
So it's the same thing when it comes to making sure that you test yourself and your capabilities without any stimulants on a regular basis.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So now we're about to do the test. Where should the mindset be, right? There's actually something
Yeah.
you said which I liked, but I remember a professor telling us before we were going to write our exams, he would say, hey guys, I know you're studying 20 minutes before the exam. If you don't know it now, you're not going to know it at all,
Exactly.
right? So where should the mindset be when you're coming in? You got in your sleep, you got your hydration, you
Yep.
got your good calories, you haven't had your coffee.
Yep.
Where's the mind right now?
You should be feeling pretty confident. You should,
Okay.
more than anything, I think confidence might be a little bit too much of a word. Trusting yourself. You have to trust yourself. You put that time, you put that effort, and you know where you're at and why you're doing this, and your intentions of doing this, and how important it is to yourself. When you go in with that mindset, you're doing it out of love, because
Okay.
you love for what you're doing for the community. Everything else will fall into place.
Okay, I like that, man. That's really good. Okay,
Yeah.
so these are obviously like tips and tricks that you can do that, because again, it's you could have all the training, you could have the physical, you could
Yes.
have the food, but then all of that can go right against you with your mind, right?
Absolutely.
So that's really good. Okay, so we've kind of unearthed quite a bit right now.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to something that we've brought up and talked about twice now, and that's sleep. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I think a lot of people underestimate how much sleep they should be getting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. What do you do before you go to bed? Are you like, for example, and we're all guilty of looking on our phones and you
Absolutely.
get blue light. It all happens, right?
It
But at the end of the day, like, these are things that could also affect your sleep patterns.
Yes.
If you're someone that goes to sleep at a certain time, or I'm going to go to bed 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, like there's no consistency of your sleep. What can you say, in your opinion, your experience, how beneficial having proper sleep is to performance?
Yes. Okay. So when we talk about sleep in our consultation, I like to break it down on what time they go to sleep, when they wake up, if they've had any interruptions in the night, right? If they wake up at night, that's an indication of something.
Right.
Right. And then also what's happening when we are sleeping, and when we hit REM, what are all the benefits of hitting REM in our bodies? So with women, we don't actually have a regular production of testosterone. So building muscle is going to be a little bit harder. So sleep is very important, because in a time of sleep is actually one of the moments that we release some testosterone. But if we're not sleeping well, then that gets interrupted. So ties back a little bit more on nutrition. If we're on top of keeping our glycemic index or our blood sugar level stable, then what happens is that during the night, we won't dip. And if we can try to prevent that dip, for the most part, we're going to prevent ourselves waking up in the middle of the night. Typically, I get like the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock hour. Most people will say, oh, I had to go to the washroom. But if you really look back and look at what you've had to eat the day before, I bet you 9 times out of 10, there's something happening there that's actually caused that 3 a.m. I've fixed actually a lot of 3 a.m. wake-ups.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it's all having to just organize the food, making sure we're taking in enough carbs, which people tend to be scared of, and just laying it into a plan. So our sleep, if we want to go back to that, is really important because that's when that's when our body actually repairs, right? And if we are better repaired, we're going to function better the next day. And especially if you're doing intense workouts, you don't want to be like sleep being the reason why you're waking up that much sore,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So recovery is going to be important. So what are we doing before sleep? Magnesium. Magnesium is fantastic. A probiotic, that's also something that's very important before bed. And yes, avoiding those things that are going to interrupt your cognitive, like you're making sure that you're settling your brain.
Yes.
So half an hour before, or an hour before, try to avoid your phone. Create a routine if you can, right? We try to do this for our children. I have 2, so we're doing our best.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And that can help with the sleep patterns in our sleeping schedule.
Okay, that's good. I mean, people like all the time, my friends will make fun of me, like, because I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock,
Yes.
right? Because I'm waking up usually around 5 o'clock, 5:30. That's
it.
like my window. But these are tips to succeed. Look, you shared a lot of amazing things today. The one thing I want anyone listening to this right now is that if you're looking to get into policing, there is actually a 50% decline right now as we speak in Canada. And I'm pretty sure in the US and around the world, people are moving on. The baby boomers are kind of getting on. Yeah. There's a lot of vacancies. There's a lot of opportunities. So if someone is truly trying to get into policing and you got the whole entire like written down pact, you got the skill set of training or of life experience. And if you're just missing the physical piece, this is something that you really want to tap into, because at the end of the day, it can really help you, and not only just help you pass, but help you maintain that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yes, you're developing.
So that's all it is, man.
Yes.
How do we find you? Because I'm listening right now. Just I need Body by Design. I need to get onto the police service. How do I find you?
So I'm on Instagram, body.by.design.
Yes.
You can reach me there,
Okay.
and we can have a simple conversation. A lot of the times in that conversation, sometimes it could be up to a half an hour, is just getting to know the person.
Okay.
For me, what's important is developing that relationship, because when we start to train together, we become a team. And communication is so important when we are a team.
And you create accountability.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Exactly. That accountability from their part and my part to get to that finish line. So we work on the project together. And then with the help of the team, because we all just push each other to rise, that's what we do. And you can
100%.
call me at any time and reach me out on
Look, I firmly
Instagram.
believe that every person needs someone else
Absolutely.
better than them to push them or whatever. You said you actually have a coach.
Yes.
For yourself.
Yes.
Like, and to me, someone can be like, what? That doesn't make sense. Oh, 100% it
Yeah.
makes sense to me, because
The best athletes have coaches.
And you surround yourself around people around you that are always better than you, that you can pull from. That's how we grow. That's how we develop.
Yes.
So I love that concept.
Yes.
I think it's fantastic. And just so the thing that I also love about, again, the social media part of what you do, you highlight a lot of the stuff that you do with your students.
Absolutely.
The success stories, the whole 9 yards. And I think that's very important. If someone's going to say, hey, listen, can this happen? How can it happen? Is this even real? Take a look on social media and see, you know?
I always look at it as like, it really doesn't, it's not about me. It's about the athletes. I like to highlight the athletes in what they're doing and how they're developing, because they're putting in the hard work and the effort and the time and the dedication. That needs to be celebrated, because what you're signing up for in law enforcement and being a constable comes with a lot of responsibility.
Right.
Right. And a lot of preparation in many different aspects that we can explore and talk about. So when they're showing and doing that needs to be, I think that needs to be highlighted and celebrated.
Absolutely. And I can also say as a testament, I do know a lot of your athletes, when you're training them, again, as you said, like, they'll lift heavier weights. When someone is watching, if I'm a recruiter now and I'm watching someone do the prep test, specifically the shuttle run, if the shuttle run, I believe stage is 7, right? Or 7.5, one of those two, I can't remember right now. And you've done it and you have the ability to go 2 more stages, go 2 more stages, right?
Yes.
Because that's another tip that many people don't understand, is that they're looking at everything about you. If you do your test and you're absolutely winded on the 7 and you pass out, fine, you made it, great. But if they see someone that has actually, they're just normal on the 7.5, they're going to be like, why didn't they go further?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Is it a character thing about them? They don't like to push themselves. It can identify a bunch of other things. So I'm glad that you're able to push your students even to a higher level.
Yes.
So it becomes easy when they come and do it the day of.
Every time a little bit better. Every time a little bit better. Push that threshold. Challenge the limits. We are capable of so much, and it's just a matter of like recognizing where you are and then going a little bit further.
Right.
The way we do one thing is how we do everything, right? So we want to just really set our minds to that.
Okay, amazing. And again, the mindset is everything. I'll give you an example. I don't like working out in the evenings. I hate it, so I do all my workouts in the morning.
Amazing.
It's not that I can't do it in the evenings.
Yeah.
My mind has said to me, you missed your workout this morning. You can't do it in the evening. It's your mind, right? So always remember, your mind conquers all.
It absolutely does.
I really, really want to thank you for coming down. You've brought some amazing context. I love the fact that what you're doing is tailored and connected to an industry which desperately, desperately needs it.
I believe in.
And I've seen the success stories. They keep on coming, which obviously shows me that you are right on that right path.
Thank you.
You're making an impact, and I love that.
Thank you.
So
it.
Thank you for that.
We keep pushing, and we work here to help them, support them, and we work as a team.
Amazing. All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, if you want to find out more information, just kick out that Instagram address one more time.
So it's body.by.design.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Amazing. Everyone have a fantastic week. Keep pushing towards your dreams and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Take care.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.